In a world ruled by power, wealth, and influence, where America, China, and Russia all fight for Africa's attention, one nation has quietly earned something far more valuable than control. It has earned trust. That nation is India. While the West offers loans with strings attached, and China builds infrastructure in exchange for resources, India has taken a completely different route, one built on respect, shared history, and genuine partnership. Across the continent, from Kenya to Ghana, Nigeria to Ethiopia, and South Africa to Tanzania, leaders are turning toward New Delhi, not Washington or Beijing. But why? What's behind this massive shift? What's India's secret advantage that makes Africa trust it more than the global superpowers? Today, on Eazicho Africa, we dive deep into the untold truth. Why India's rise in Africa isn't just about business, it's about brotherhood. Because for the first time in modern history, Africa is not just choosing the richest nation, it's choosing the right partner. So, get ready as we uncover how India built this quiet power that's reshaping Africa's future and what it means for the global balance of power. Let's get started. India's connection with Africa isn't new. It's not just about recent trade or investments. It's a bond that dates back centuries. Long before colonization, Indian merchants sailed across the Indian Ocean, trading spices, gold, textiles, and ivory with East African kingdoms like Zanzibar, Mombasa, and Kilwa. Those ancient trade routes weren't built on force. They were built on trust and exchange. When colonialism hit Africa, Indians didn't come as conquerors. Many came as workers, traders, and teachers. Large Indian communities settled in Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, and Uganda. And though some faced discrimination under colonial rule, they stayed and contributed to Africa's growth, building businesses, hospitals, and schools. Fast forward to the 20th century, India and Africa stood side by side during the fight for independence. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, who started his political journey in South Africa, inspired figures like Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, and Nelson Mandela. Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence and self-reliance became part of Africa's liberation DNA. India didn't just preach freedom, it lived it. When Africa started breaking free from colonial rule, India was among the first nations to support and recognize newly independent African states. New Delhi didn't see Africa as a market, it saw it as a partner in liberation. That solidarity built emotional capital, something money can't buy. And today, decades later, that history still echoes in every handshake between Indian and African leaders. Unlike the West, India doesn't come to Africa with arrogance or domination. Unlike China, India doesn't push debt diplomacy. Instead, India focuses on mutual benefit. Trade between India and Africa has grown from $7 billion in 2001 to over $100 billion today, making India Africa's third-largest trading partner after China and the EU. But the difference lies in how India trades. When India invests, it builds with Africans, not for them. Take, for example, the Pan-African E-Network project, which connects African hospitals and universities directly to Indian institutions. That's technology transfer, not exploitation. Or the India-Africa Forum Summit, launched in 2008. Unlike Western conferences filled with conditions, India's summits focus on training, capacity building, and skills. Over 50,000 African students have received scholarships from India to study medicine, engineering, and IT. Even in sectors like pharmaceuticals, India doesn't just sell medicine, it saves lives. More than 60% of Africa's generic medicines come from India, including critical HIV and malaria drugs sold at affordable prices. This is India's secret, empathy over ego. While other powers focus on profit, India focuses on people. That's why in Africa, India isn't seen as a threat. It's seen as a friend who understands struggle. Infrastructure is where global powers clash the most in Africa. China builds fast, but leaves behind heavy debts. Western nations demand reforms and policies before investment. India's approach? Partnership with patience. India may not build billion-dollar stadiums or flashy skyscrapers, but it builds what matters: roads, power plants, IT parks, and industrial training centers. In Ethiopia, India helped set up a textile park that employs thousands. In Kenya, Indian engineers have supported modernization of the railway sector. In Nigeria and Ghana, Indian companies have invested in energy, cement, and agriculture, creating jobs for locals, not importing labor. The difference lies in ownership. India doesn't take control of African resources. It helps African nations develop the capacity to control them themselves. Even in technology, India's influence is subtle but deep. From telemedicine to digital banking systems, Indian firms like Tech Mahindra, Bharti Airtel, and Infosys are empowering African youth to participate in the global digital economy. This isn't just business. It's trust in action. India proving that development can be shared, not dictated. At the heart of India's success in Africa lies something powerful: people-to-people connection. Over 3 million people of Indian origin live in Africa today. Many are citizens contributing to local economies, education, and healthcare. But even beyond that, there's a cultural rhythm that connects the two: family values, spirituality, community, and resilience. When Africans look at India, they don't just see a foreign power. They see a mirror of their own journey: colonialism, poverty, struggle, and rise. Both regions know what it feels like to be underestimated by the West. Both believe in rising through education and entrepreneurship, not domination. That emotional familiarity builds something stronger than any loan or trade deal. It builds trust. It's why African students studying in India often describe it as a second home. It's why Indian films and music are widely loved across Africa, from Lagos to Nairobi. Cultural diplomacy is India's soft power, and it works beautifully in Africa. Where others use money, India uses connection. Now, let's talk about what makes India's approach truly unique: respect for sovereignty. India doesn't interfere in African politics. It doesn't push ideology. It simply says, let's grow together. When the United States lectures Africa about democracy, or China demands natural resources in return for infrastructure, India comes with humility, offering cooperation, not conditions. That's why countries like Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, and Ethiopia all describe India as a trusted partner. India's development model also matches Africa's aspirations: self-reliance and empowerment, not dependency. Even India's military cooperation is built on training and support, not control. India has trained African officers, supported peacekeeping operations, and offered defense technology, but never demanded bases or political favors. This is what sets India apart: a power that understands the pain of colonialism and refuses to repeat it. Let's be honest, the West had centuries to build a strong partnership with Africa. Instead, it built walls of mistrust. Aid came with conditions, loans came with control, and policies came with manipulation. Many African nations are tired of being told how to govern, how to trade, and how to live. Then they look at India, a developing country that faced its own struggles, but rose through education, innovation, and unity. That's something Africa relates to deeply. So when India offers a hand, it doesn't feel like foreign aid. It feels like family helping family. This is the West's biggest mistake: underestimating the emotional and historical connection between the global South. India isn't competing with the West on power. It's competing on trust. The future of the world economy will be shaped by Asia and Africa. Together, they hold over 4 billion people and massive untapped potential. India knows this, and that's why it's doubling down on African partnerships. From renewable energy to space technology, from startups to education, India is helping Africa build its future, not borrow it. Initiatives like the India-Africa Defense Dialogue, Solar Alliance, and Digital India-Africa Connect are shaping a new era of South-South cooperation. In the coming decade, the world will see something powerful: an Africa rising with India by its side, forming a new global alliance based not on fear, but on friendship. As the sun sets on old global orders, the world is witnessing something extraordinary: a partnership born out of trust, not tactics. While others come with promises, India comes with proof. While others seek control, India seeks cooperation. And while others look at Africa as a resource, India looks at it as a brotherhood. From trade and technology to culture and compassion, India's secret advantage isn't hidden in its economy. It's in its empathy. It understands that true partnership means walking side by side, not one ahead of the other. Africa isn't falling for charm. It's recognizing sincerity. And that's why, in boardrooms and parliaments across the continent, one truth echoes louder than ever before. Backhand index pointing right, Africa trusts India more than the West. And that trust, built over centuries, is becoming the foundation of a new world order. Because this time, it's not about East versus West. It's about South and South, rising together. This is Iazicho Africa, bringing you the real stories reshaping our continent and the world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because the African voice matters, and together, we'll keep it echoing across the globe.